Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this. I'm Pastor Neil White, pastor at Rejoice Lutheran Church, and this is sharing a little bit about what worship's going to be about as we gathered for worship and as we gather to think about what God has to say to us this Sunday at worship. So everybody has certain little proverbs, certain little things, passages they try to live by. And one that I have picked up from my youth that was passed, it's been passed on for hundreds of years, that I try to make sure that when we teach our youth, that what one thing to hold on to is actually comes from Martin Luther, and is his explanation to the first commandment that we have no other gods. And his explanation of that is we are to fear, love, and trust God above all things. So we have a story this week in the Gospels where in Mark 10, you have a young man who comes to Jesus and says, I see what you and your disciples have, and I want that. So what do I need to do to have what you and your disciples have? And Jesus' initial answer is, well, you know what the commandments are. You shall not kill, you shall not steal, you shall not commit adultery, don't bear false witness, honor your father and mother. And the young man said, I've done all these things. But what else do I need to do? And I love the line in there. Jesus looks at him and he loves him. And so he says to him something that is hard, but it's that which is getting in the way of this young man's relationship. So he says to him, take what you have, give it away, give it to the poor, and come and follow me. He saw in that young man's life that it was his possessions, it was the things that he had that were getting in that way of fearing and loving and trusting God above all things. A lot of times when people come and ask me, Neil, what do I need to do to build a stronger relationship with God? They expect me to say, well, here's what you need to do in your prayer life. Now, that's important. Or here's what you need to do as far as worship. Now, that's important too. Or here's how to read scripture. These are all important things. But a lot of times when you talk about, well, what are you giving? People shut down. And I think that's one area where we like to be in control. I think it's an area where we're a little uncomfortable at times talking about. And yet, it is an important spiritual gift. It is an important spiritual act to learn how to let go of the things that we believe that we possess, and sometimes they really possess us, and to give it back to God, to entrust it into God's hands. So we will be talking about that on Sunday. And I look forward to seeing you as we come together to worship. We worship at 8:30 with our traditional service, at 11 o'clock with our celebration service. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.